Hello everybody. If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short Story 608, A New Berth, Homophones for Intermediate. Arthur felt a sense of dread as he moved his last box into the small room. He was a new boarder at a guest house on the coast, and he already felt so bored. His plan was to use this quiet time to finally build his intricate model sailing ship, a project billed as one of the most challenging a hobbyist could attempt. Looking out the window, a strong wind blew across the bay. The deep blue of the sea was framed by a gentle bight in the coastline. He hoped the change of scenery would help, but he was losing hope. The town itself seemed to move at a snail's pace. His friend had warned him it was a bore, and for a moment, he believed him. Later that evening, as he walked through the garden, a small insect bitten his arm. He swatted it away just as the strange call of a bittern echoed from the nearby marshland. It was a sound he had only read about. As he reached the far border of the property, he noticed a woman sitting on a bench. Her name was Elara, and she worked for the local council, part of a bloc of people trying to revitalise the area. She saw him struggling with a large block of wood he had been given by the guest house owner. "It's for the model," he explained, "but I can't even make the first cut. My mind is just blank." Elara smiled. "It's just a block of wood. You need to be bold and make that first bite." She invited him to have a cup of tea, a simple but welcome offer. Over tea, she told him about the history of the guest house, and how her family had lived there since the birth of the town's original shipping company. The town had once thrived on the business that came from every ship's berth at the harbour. She even mentioned that a single byte of data from the old shipping logs was more valuable to historians than all the modern maps combined. He was so engrossed in her story that he didn't feel bored at all. The time flew by. When they went back outside, he was so taken with her that he felt he had been bowled over. Her enthusiasm was infectious. She helped him lift the heavy board of wood, steadying it as he made the first cut. He realized the town was far from a bore. There were people with stories and a rich past to discover. With the model ship project, he felt like he had found a new berth in life, a place where he could finally build something new. The birth of his new friendship was the true beginning he had been looking for. Vocabulary notes. Boarder. Definition: a person who pays to live in a room in someone's house, often receiving meals as well. Example: he was a new boarder at a guest house on the coast, and he already felt so bored. Similar words: lodger, tenant, resident. Bight. Definition: a curve or recess in a coastline, river, or other geographical feature. It is a large, open bay formed by a curve in the coastline. Example: the deep blue of the sea was framed by a gentle bight in the coastline. Similar words: bay, cove, inlet. Bittern. Definition: a type of wading bird from the heron family, known for its secretive nature and deep, booming call. Example: he swatted it away just as the strange call of a bittern echoed from the nearby marshland. Similar words: heron, egret, stork. Bloc. Definition: a group of countries, political parties, or people who have formed an alliance and act together for a common purpose. Example: her name was Elara, and she worked for the local council, part of a bloc of people trying to revitalise the area. Similar words: alliance, coalition, union, group. Berth. Definition: a place where a ship or boat can be moored or docked. It can also mean a secure, comfortable place to sleep, like on a train or ship. In a broader sense, it can mean a position or job. Example: the town had once thrived on the business that came from every ship's berth at the harbour. He felt like he had found a new berth in life. Similar words: for a ship, dock, mooring, P for a job to position, place, position, role. Story written by Gemini Pro AA. Image created by re.magics. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. CC Music, Drifting at 432 Hz, Unicorn Heads.
Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through the information you send us, pull out the key insights, basically give you a shortcut to being well informed.
And today, we're diving into something really quite fascinating. It's a short story, but it does so much more than just tell a tale.
Exactly. Our mission here is to explore how a narrative uses really clever language, specifically words that sound the same but mean different things, homophones.
Right.
How that can light up a character's whole transformation journey and show us hidden meanings in, what seems pretty ordinary at first.
Yeah, get ready to really tune your ears into the power of these words. It's like language itself becomes a character in the story.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We start with Arthur. He's just arrived at this guest house on the coast. He's a new boarder.
And you feel it straight away, don't you?
Yeah.
This deep sense of dread he has. He's incredibly bored. It's almost like the words themselves are setting him up.
Totally. And it's not just in his head. He's got this project, this really complicated model sailing ship he's supposed to build.
But he's stuck.
Yeah, completely stuck on this large block of wood. Can't even start. And the town, it seems to just echo how he feels. A friend called it a bore. Everything's slow.
Even the scenery doesn't help, right?
Yeah.
There's that mention of the sea and the gentle bight and the coastline.
Right, the curve in the coast. But no comfort there either. He just seems trapped. Linguistically trapped, almost, from the first page.
It's such a perfect setup, that feeling of stagnation, the world reflecting his internal state. It really draws you in.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit more. Arthur's walking through the garden. And he gets bitten. Just a small insect, an irritation.
But then immediately after.
Yeah, then there's this really weird kind of booming sound. It's a bittern calling from the marsh nearby.
A sound he's only read about, which makes it even stranger.
Exactly. So you've got this tiny physical thing, the bite, and then this big, strange, almost ancient sound. It feels like it's hinting at something, doesn't it? Like reality is a bit off kilter for him.
It absolutely does. That pairing, bitten and bittern, it's not just adding description. It creates this unsettling feeling, a bit dreamlike maybe, suggesting his environment is kind of resonating with how displaced he feels.
Yeah, unfamiliarity hitting him on different levels. So then we get to what feels like a real turning point.
Right, the block of wood.
He's staring at this large block of wood for the model ship, and his mind is just blank.
And that physical object, the block, is such a clear mirror for his mental block, his inability to move forward.
Do you think maybe the physical block actually causes the shift? Like hitting that absolute wall forces him to do something different?
That's a really interesting thought. The story presents it as a mirror. But yeah, maybe the sheer frustration with that uncarved block pushes him. He has to find a way past it.
Because he literally says he can't even make the first cut. It's total paralysis.
And that's the moment Elara shows up. She works at the local council.
Yep.
And she's part of this group, this block of people trying to revitalize the area.
Which straight away sets up a contrast, doesn't it? His isolation versus her, collective effort.
Precisely. And then she says something that seems so simple, but it changes everything for him.
Yeah, that line, it's just a block of wood. You need to be bold and make that first bite. What is it about that? Is it just the simplicity or something else?
I think it's both. It's simple, it's direct. She just kind of cuts through all his internal noise, And it's not just about the wood. It's permission to act, to be bold about everything.
Yeah.
Then she offers him tea.
And they start talking. And this is where things really start to shift, isn't it?
Absolutely, because she starts sharing the history of the place. Suddenly, this boring town has a past.
Right. She tells him about the guest house, how the whole town used to thrive because of the harbor, because of every ship's berth.
It adds depth, context. It's not just a sleepy place anymore.
And then there's that amazing little detail she shared.
Oh, yeah, the data point.
She tells him a single byte of data from the old shipping logs, just one byte, is more valuable to historians than all the modern maps.
Which is incredible, isn't it? It perfectly highlights how tiny, overlooked things can have immense value. Kind of like her advice about the block. The small first byte holds the key.
It suggests value is hidden everywhere if you just look or listen in the right way.
Exactly.
So, Arthur, he gets completely drawn into her stories. You can almost feel the boredom just evaporating.
Yeah, the text says he feels bowled over by her enthusiasm. It's infectious. His whole perspective is changing.
And it's practical too, right? She doesn't just talk.
No, she physically helps him. She actually steadies the heavy board of wood while he makes that first crucial cut.
That's huge. It's like the mental support and the physical support coming together.
Shows that sometimes you just need that helping hand, that connection to break through a barrier.
So he realizes the town isn't a bore at all. It's full of stories, history, life. And this leads to the big realization for him. He feels like he's found a new berth in life.
A secure place, yeah. Like a ship finding its safe spot in the harbor. But more than that.
Right. It's a new position for him emotionally, mentally, a place where he can finally start building something again.
And that feeling is explicitly linked to the birth of his friendship with Elara. That connection is the new beginning he needed.
From border to finding a new berth, through the birth of a friendship, it's beautifully done.
It really is. And so much of that power, that resonance, comes from the language itself. The way those similar-sounding words, the homophones, are woven in. They're not just decoration. They're like the engine of his transformation.
Okay, let's really dig into that, how these words work. Let's start with those first ones. Border, board, and board. How do they manage to compress his whole initial problem so effectively?
Well, it's incredibly efficient, isn't it? Using that one soundboard connects his status, border, with his feeling board and the physical symbol of his paralysis, the board of wood.
So it immediately creates the sense of being trapped by his circumstances and his own feelings.
Exactly. It's like the language itself is reinforcing his despair. It's more than just wordplay. It's immersing us linguistically in his state.
Okay. Then we had the contrast you mentioned earlier. The bight in the coastline versus Elara's advice to make the first bite. How does that pairing push the narrative forward?
It highlights the shift from passive to active. The bight is they're a geographical feature, something you observe, like Arthur initially just observing his own misery.
Right, static.
But bight is an action. It's decisive. It's about engaging, making a mark, overcoming that inertia. It perfectly mirrors the shift she inspires in him stop watching, start doing.
Makes sense. What about bitten and bittern? We talked about the sensory details, the insect and the bird call. What deeper role do they play together?
Well, the insect bite, being bitten, is immediate, physical, annoying. But the bittern's call is different. It's auditory, strange, unexpected, almost ancient sounding.
So it adds a layer of weirdness.
Yeah, a kind of surreal quality. It subtly unsettles things, suggesting his reality is shifting, moving away from the purely mundane. It hints that something more profound is possible, pulling him out of that rut.
Okay, and then bloc versus bloc. Elara is part of a community bloc working together. How does that specifically counteract Arthur's personal bloc?
It puts his individual struggle right up against the power of community. His bloc is isolation, paralysis. Her bloc represents collaboration, shared energy, external support.
So it's showing that connection is key to overcoming individual hurdles.
I think so, yeah. It really underscores that idea. We often need others, that collective energy, to break free from our own blocks.
Right. Now, this last set is really intricate. Berth, and bight. Let's unpack those layers again.
Okay, so Berth starts with the literal ship's mooring place, connecting to the town's history and economy.
Giving the place significance.
Yes. Then it shifts to mean Arthur's personal sense of finding his place, his security, his new birth in life.
Which feels directly linked to Elara.
Exactly. It's tied explicitly to the birth of their friendship. That connection is his new beginning, his secure place. The words weave his personal journey into the town's story and the theme of new beginnings.
And don't forget the bight.
Right. The tiny bite of data holding immense value. It reinforces the whole theme. Don't overlook the small things. A small piece of data, a small piece of advice, bight. A new friendship, birth. These seemingly minor things can spark huge transformations. Finding your birth might come from an unexpected bight.
Wow. When you lay it all out like that, the linguistic architecture is really quite something.
It really is. Very cleverly constructed.
So let's recap this deep dive. We started with Arthur feeling dreadful, totally bored, stuck, and through connection, through a shift in perspective, and subtly guided by this clever use of homophones, he finds discovery and, well, a new way forward.
He finds his new birth, yeah. Not just a physical spot, but a renewed purpose, a meaningful friendship.
I think the key takeaway is really about perspective, isn't it? How connection can flip that switch, turn something that feels like a bore into something rich and inspiring.
Absolutely. And it also just highlights how language itself works on us, how these sound-alike words can knit together a story's themes and emotions so powerfully. Makes you want to listen more closely, doesn't it?
It really does. And that kind of leads us to the provocative thought for you listening.
Okay.
How often do we feel stuck or, bored in our own lives? And maybe all it takes is, well, taking that fresh bite at something challenging.
Or making a new connection.
Or maybe just listening a bit more carefully for those hidden bites of information, those small things that could actually help us find our own new Berth. Something to think about.
Definitely something to think about.